warm welcome to State of Business on Art Television. I'm Samindri Jayawardena, and now let's look at the headlines for the day. Sri Lanka removed from the grey list of the Financial Action Task Force, says Finance Minister. SLPP Chairman responds to Election Commission Chairman over using war nuances in campaigning. Today we begin news with the latest updates on the political arena. SLPP Chairman Professor G.L. Piri states that the constitution of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna-led alliance will be signed at the end of this month. Professor G.L. Piri also counter-attacked the Commission of Elections and said that not a single election law prohibits them using the nuances of war in the election propaganda. SLPP Chairman Professor G.L. Piri says that parliamentarians such as Douglas Devananda, Angajan Ramanathan, A.L.M. Attaullah, Pillayan, Karuna Amman, Arumugam Thondaman and many other political leaders have already stood up to back Gotabaya Rajapaksa in the forthcoming election, assuring the assistance from the minority groups. Meanwhile, over the past weeks, the Election Commissioner Mahinda Deshapriya noted that nuances of the war victory cannot be used for political propaganda. However, the law expert Professor G.L. Piri, addressing the media briefing, clarified that no law pertaining to the election states that nuances of war cannot be mentioned in the election rallying propaganda. Subsequently, Chairman of SLPP Professor G.L. Piri also stated that an independent presidential commission will be appointed under Gotabaya Rajapaksa's regime to investigate the Easter Sunday terror attacks, claiming that the current government select committee's report cannot be accepted. Upon a question of the media personnel, both Professor G.L. Piri and parliamentarian Rohitha Abegunawardena noted that as a party, SLPP does not conform to the idea of executing death penalty in Sri Lanka. Parliamentarian Rohitha Abegunawardena highlighted that under a regime led by Gotabaya Rajapaksa, there won't be any room for drug traffickers and criminals to breed, and hence the debate of the death penalty will be futile. Meanwhile, presidential candidate of New Democratic Front and Minister Sajith Premadasa assures that his rule will fortify the private sector, bearing in mind that the wealth is properly trickled down to all sectors of the society. Minister Premadasa delivered these policy frameworks addressing the business community in Colombo last Friday.
While we shall give priority to growth and to enhance competitiveness in our private sector, I should also assert at this juncture that the fruits of growth, the income and wealth that we generate will be redistributed equitably and in a just and fair manner to all sectors of society, so that the various income and wealth discrepancies that exist in the present economic model of economic growth will be addressed, and we shall ensure the gap that exists between the haves and the have-nots are bridged to the greatest extent. So Sri Lanka will offer new opportunities for all those who are keen on innovation, for all those who dare to take a risk, take a chance. We as a government will fully support all such endeavors.
One of the former presidents of Bar Association of Sri Lanka, President's Council Geoffrey Alagaratnam, says that the country must think about a system which could the country's future can be decided and not the individuals who just seek power. President's Council Alagaratnam, who addressed a gathering of lawyers to express their support to the presidential candidate of the National People's Power, Andrew Kumar Dissanayake, in Colombo yesterday, said that the country must also change the political culture of green to blue and blue to green.
First of all, the change has to come from the top, from Parliament, the Constitution. Then, of course, we have to, one of the things that I suppose we would look for from this movement is a clear economic policy. A clear policy on, when I say economy, you have to look after every aspect of it. There's no point, I believe, talking of slogans like communism, socialism, all those are words. We have to protect our agriculture. We have to protect our health, education, fisheries, all our plantations. We have to protect them. We have to give the farmer a better chance. We can't sort of change subsidies overnight. We have to make them stronger because we have to make people, because we are too dependent on free things. But we can't stop that overnight. That is sure, because we have to make the people stronger. Under this thing of freeing people who are in jail and bringing all sorts of solutions to security, you don't need one man to do it. You need a proper institution, independent institutions. That is why the Constitution is important. Look at our public service. Look at our secretaries. Our secretaries are all yes men. They get kicked around. They have to do, as we say, they have to do the parliamentarians or the ministers' jaravar.
Moving on to more business news, the Financial Intelligence Unit of Sri Lanka entered into an agreement with Interpol National Central Bureau for Sri Lanka recently to obtain direct access to the Interpol information system. The agreement between the Interpol local branch and the Financial Intelligence Unit was signed following the provisions of the Financial Transactions Reporting Act. Central Bank in a statement said that money laundering and terrorist financing are internationally connected financial crimes which could threaten the stability of domestic as well as global economic and financial systems. The statement said that the agreement signed with the Colombo branch of the Interpol would enable gather intelligence and information which is vital for prevention, detection and prosecution of such offences. The central bank also said that the FIU has already entered into memoranda of understanding with 39 foreign counterparts as well as 10 domestic agencies, namely Sri Lanka Customs, Department of Immigration and Immigration, Department of Inland Revenue, Department for Registration of Persons, Sri Lanka Police, Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka, Insurance Regulatory Commission of Sri Lanka, Department of Motor Traffic, Condominium Management Authority and National Gem and Jewelry Authority in order to share information to strengthen the anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism framework of the country. Senior Deputy Inspector General of Police, who is also the head of NCB Colombo, DWRB Senaviratna, and Director of the Financial Intelligence Unit, DM Rupasinghe, signed the agreement on behalf of the respective institutions in the presence of the Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka and the Chairman of the Anti-Money Laundering and Countering the Financing of Terrorism National Coordinating Committee, Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, and Acting Inspector General of Police, CD Vikramaratne. Stay tuned for more news after this. Welcome back after the break. Finance Minister Mangala Samarura stresses that learning to live with reconciliation in diversity, preserving rule of law and opening to the world are three key essential strategies to enhance the development of the country. The Finance Minister made these observations last Friday addressing the Business Council.
I'm going to briefly remind ourselves of three very important lessons from the past if we are to succeed as a country. The first lesson is that unity in diversity and reconciliation is a sine qua non for economic development. In fact, it is our inability to celebrate the diversity of our beautiful island which finally led to a bitter war which lasted for 29 long years. And lesson number two, of course, is that democracy and the rule of law is a must for sustainable development. And the third lesson is that we must open and connected to the world and that we cannot prosper in isolation. We cannot live like frogs in a well and expect to prosper in the world today.
Finance Minister Mangala Samarura also highlighted that Sri Lanka has now been removed from the grey list of the Financial Action Task Force's monitoring under its ongoing global anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism compliance process.
Subsequent to the field visits by the senior officials of the FATA, the Financial Action Task Force. It has also been decided that Sri Lanka should no longer be in the grey list we were for money laundering and terrorist financing. In fact, the official announcement removing us from the grey list was made in Paris at the headquarters of FATA. Looking to the future, ladies and gentlemen, it is clear that monetary policy or fiscal policy alone can't deliver growth. The crying need of the hour is a big bang structural reform.
The government of Japan provides a total sum of 219 million rupees to Skavita Humanitarian Assistance and Relief Project and the Hallo Trust for Humanitarian Demining in northern Sri Lanka. The grant contracts were signed last Friday at the Hallo Trust Muhumalali control point in Kilinochi between Ambassador of Japan Akira Sugiyama and Program Manager of SHARP, retired Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Jayawardena, and Program Manager of the Hallo Trust Belinda Vos, respectively. The two projects are expected to facilitate the mine impact-free Sri Lanka efforts by 2020, enabling the resettlement of the internally displaced people and the enhancement of their livelihoods. Commenting on the provision of this grant, retired Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Jayawardena said, "In the last 3 years, the partnership between the SHARP and the government of Japan have enabled the removal and destruction of over 5,000 landmines." Meanwhile, Belinda Vos stated that mine clearance is key to the reconciliation process in the north and to the resettlement of thousands of people. The Sri Lanka delegation to the United Nations General Assembly called on the UN Secretariat to utilize the available resources received from the member states in a more effective, impartial, and transparent manner at a time when the organization is facing its worst financial crisis. Sri Lanka's delegate Deputy High Commissioner in Canada, Sitara Khan, made this observation last Friday at the 5th Committee of the United Nations General Assembly on refining the financial situation of the United Nations in the presence of the President of the General Assembly, Professor Taijan Mohammad Bande. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka also urged the Secretariat to fulfill its financial obligations with regard to the peacekeepers identified to be replaced at the point of repatriation, and added that it was important for the UN Secretariat to ensure a predictive system of payment on all dues concerning peacekeeping operations. Further reiterating that Sri Lanka had been a regular contributor to the UN peacekeeping operations budget since 1960, Khan also expressed concerns over the practices adopted by the Department of Peace Operations recently in relation to Sri Lanka, which was in violation of a MOU with a sovereign country while challenging the decision of a head of state. The delegation observed that the Secretariat had failed to formally reply the written communications addressed on the relevant aspects of the matter for over a month, and added that it was important to have formal communications in order to avoid confusion and misunderstanding on information provided verbally. She also called on the UN Secretariat to ensure that such a misplaced presence should not be allowed to be systematized in order to avoid politicization of the decision-making process and for professional ethics of the organization to be secured. Stay tuned for stock updates after this break. Welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The all-share price index gained 0.51 points to close at 5,863.99, and the S&P SL20 gained 7.39 points to close at 2,912.66. The turnover was 1.1 billion rupees and over 28 million shares were traded. Up next are Forex rates. That's all news for today. Do join us tomorrow with State of Business. Until then, take care and goodbye.